Hello, friends. Welcome to the Iyah Iyah Perspective podcast, where we speak truth to power. Today, I want us to have the honest conversation many people avoid, even though it affects every community in Nigeria. We are talking about how governments, communities, individuals, and institutions can enable terrorism and banditry without even realizing it. And in some cases, how political interests can quietly encourage or benefit from insecurity. We've seen that. Friends, first let's look at government's behavior. Terrorism doesn't always grow because the government funds it directly. More often, it grows in the spaces government neglect, the lands they overlook, the people they overlook, slow or inconsistent responses, corruption, weak institutions, or lack of coordination among security agencies. All these create opportunities for violent groups to expand. But beyond this, Nigeria has witnessed long standing public debates and allegations about how some administrations have allowed insecurity to linger because the chaos gave them political leverage over their opponents. In some regions, especially in the north of Nigeria, insecurity has been used to justify extended hold on to powers and hegemony, and by the government to extend emergency powers influences because like election turnout, and which in most times are used to weaken political opponents. There have been situations where politicians openly negotiated or made peace deals with armed groups, as we are seeing in Katsina and Zamfara states today, and that ended up strengthening these groups, of which we are seeing today too, instead of reducing their power, whether intentional or simply poor decision making. The result is the same. Terrorism grows when governance treats security as a political tool instead of a national responsibility. Communities also play a role in this, friends, often without meaning to. When people are living under constant threat, silence becomes a survival instinct. In parts of northern Nigeria, communities stopped reporting suspicious activities because doing so previously led to deadly reprisal from bandits or terrorists or these insurgents. In other cases, communities have paid taxes and are still doing so. In some part of northern Nigeria, as reported, just like they also pay access fees to attend to their farms, to travel, or to conduct their everyday activities. Friends, none of this is in support of terrorism. It's as a result of their fear. But that fear creates space for extremism to operate freely in Nigeria. And we must live up to this fact and reality and accept it instead of the constant denial by the state governments, by the federal government across board. Friends, individuals also can contribute, sometimes in ways that feels harmless, by sharing misinformation online, by forwarding unverified rumors about attacks, or repeating extremist rhetoric without thinking that this could have an adverse effect on the security of life and property of the citizens. Friends, we all know that this is happening today. This is happening today. And we should stand up and say something about and against it. We all see how rhetoric, without thinking, can amplify fear and help the narrative of extremist groups to fester. Some people unknowingly assist armed groups by paying ransom, as I've earlier mentioned, like protection money. This all creates an environment where violent groups can survive. Then there are institutions, schools, banks, religious spaces, or even non governmental organizations who unintentionally create openings. Let's talk about unregulated schools with vulnerable children, which may become easy recruitment points. Let's look at financial institutions that don't detect or report suspicious transactions, and they help money move to places it shouldn't at the first instance. And what about political institutions? When weakened by internal rivalry, sometimes allowed armed actors to influence voters' behavior or intimidate communities, giving factions an advantage. No one may call it support, friends, but the effects mirror support all the same. When you look at these layers, government gaps, community fear, individual actions, and institutional weakness, you begin to see that terrorism doesn't succeed alone because terrorists are strong. It succeeds because society leaves cracks, and those cracks become doors. The biggest lesson here, friends, is this: enabling terrorism is not always an intentional act, but when political interests benefit from instability, as we saw between 2013 and 2014, that ushered in the APC regime in Nigeria. When silence becomes normal, when institutions fail to protect citizens, the ground becomes fertile for violent groups to thrive. Awareness is the first step. Accountability is the next. And until both become consistent realities within and amongst us, the circle of terrorism, banditry, kidnapping will continue. Friends, I am your host, Iyah Iyah, and this has been another episode of my perspectives. Thanks for listening. If this message challenges you, friends, please, and you're thinking, share it. If it made it uncomfortable, please reflect on it. And if you feel I have not said the right thing, be free to counter and share your own personal narratives. See you in my next episode, and bye for now, friends.